Daytona International Speedway. They call it the World Center of Speed. And tonight, all of the Rolex Sports Car Series competitors, especially those in the GT class, will experience firsthand the power of the new Pontiac GTO R. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 7 of the Rolex Sports Car Series from Daytona International Speedway. As you look at Daytona prototype points, it's a very tight battle up front. 4 drivers locked in that battle for the championship. Taylor, Angelelli, Pruitt, and Diaz. And then just in second place, only 25 points back, Butch Leitzinger and Elliott Forbes Robinson. Andy Wallace only 28 markers behind the leaders. As you look at GT, Craig Stanton sits on top with 171 points, but Mark Bunting and Andy Lally only 15 points behind. David Murray only 18 points behind Craig Stanton. We're going to be getting in some great racing action here, Dorsey, around this racetrack. Take us around it. I know there have been some changes that have been made.
Have a look here at our Porsche track map. The biggest thing is the infield itself. That goes from turn 1 all the way to turn 6 has been completely repaved. Now, no one's run on it since the rain we just had. That could make it extremely slippery. What we do know, though, is in qualifying, they broke all the track records. There's a lot of grip out there in the dry. It's not dry right now, Brian.
Now, it's kind of damp in places, dry in other places. It's going to make it tricky for sure as you look at the starting grid running across the speed strip at the top of your screen. There's some keys to winning this thing, Dorsey. What are they going to be?
Keep it off the grass, boys. It's been raining here for 10 solid days, and if you get down in that grass, it's all over for you. The infield surface is an unknown. We haven't been on it since it rained. It could be very oily, very slippery. We'll know in lap 1. One-day show. They got here this morning. They unloaded. They practiced in the hot heat. They qualified. Now it's rained quite hard. We've got a lot of new cars, new drivers in the series for this race that have never competed against the likes of what they're going to see today.
Well, and drivers that have not competed on these high banks either, and that's always a challenge when you come here for the first time. Guys down in pit lane, I know there's a lot of excitement going on down there. Calvin, what are your thoughts before we get this thing going?
Well, the big question mark for the teams, Brian, is the weather. We've had heavy thunderstorms here in the area for the last 2 days. In fact, Nextel Cup practice was washed out just a couple of hours ago. So right now it's dry. Everyone's on slicks. There's a little patchy out there. They have to be careful. But if it does rain, that tricky infield with the new surface could be very treacherous for the guys this evening. Let's go over to Chris Neville.
Cal, you had a chance to talk to Tony Stewart earlier. Another guy who ran at Sonoma last weekend was Scott Pruitt, who was running real strong until a sway bar failed on that car. This weekend, not running as strong as we usually see. We've typically seen that car starting right up on point the past 3 starts here. However, they have yet to convert that pole position into a win. Asked him this weekend why they weren't up on point, why the car wasn't quite up to speed, and he said everything is fine. We're just taking our pace, and we'll be good out there. So you kind of have to raise an eyebrow after their qualifying performance, but they might be able to convert this thing into their first win at Daytona.
Scott Pruitt always fast in everything he drives, and everywhere he drives, I should say. Luis Diaz in that 01 Chip Ganassi machine right now as the pace car comes down. It should be heading to pit lane. The Pontiac GTO pace car does indeed head to pit lane as the Daytona prototype field lines up. We do split starts here in the Rolex Sports Car Series. Prototypes first, some 20 to 30 seconds back will be the GT field, and a very slow start here, Dorsey.
Yeah, the boys keeping them side by side really slow. 10 starts to get on the gas. Now we have a start of the DPs.
And Wayne Taylor leads the DP field down to turn 1. Right outside of him, Court Wagner in the 02 machine. And new pavement down here. I know the drivers were talking about the braking and how that new pavement to the old pavement affects the braking, but the other thing they've got to deal with is a slightly damp racetrack in the infield, and that is going to be a challenge. The pace car for the GT field has also pulled away, and green flag on GT.
Andrew Davis takes the number 73 red Porsche to the point and will take the lead into turn 1, but this whole infield, remember, is really kind of half cold, half damp, and it's going to be, these guys need to just pay attention right now.
Well, they are going to have to pay attention as you see them working past pit out. Little snake section of the racetrack on board the 21 right now as they head down into the international horseshoe.
That's Tom Milner right up in behind the driver's seat. Out on spin. There's a prototype that's crashed right there. Everybody got by clean so far.
Looked like the 07 prototype. That would be Bob Ward behind the wheel right now. And now we've got some GT cars off as well.
That's the slipperiest corner on the whole racetrack, always has been. That infield carousel corner, you can't believe how slippery it is, and it is damp. We see the 57 Corvette over there that's gone around, and he's going on his way. That's Vic Rice.
So you got Bob Ward at the entry to the corner. Some obvious damage to the back of that machine.
He might have been
Vic Rice, the Corvette, also had the problem. But as you go back up front, Wayne Taylor, and what a great job Wayne Taylor did. Angelelli is the guy that you think of as being this hot shoe in the 10 car, but Wayne Taylor, the owner of that team, tremendous job in qualifying to take the pole, his first pole in Daytona Prototype.
Good job by Wayne, and what better place to do it? SunTrust, of course, his sponsor, local bank. They have a lot of people right next to us here up in the suites. A big contingent from SunTrust. So Wayne gathered the bit in his mouth and went ahead and put it on the pole. Good for him.
Jörg Burgermeister not going to let him get away, but as you go back, the 4 car, Elliott Forbes Robinson behind the wheel right now, going around the 8 of Brian Frizzell.
Boy, Brian Frizzell all over the banking. Got really loose there, Brian. Twice he was down low, and I could see a little moisture there.
The car seems, that 8 car, Frizzell, seems to move a lot around the banking, Dorsey. I know that one of the things the guys talked about was his infield was a lot smoother now, but I didn't realize the banking was that rough.
Yeah, the turn 4 tunnel turn, where the tunnel goes underneath turn 4 over there, it's got a really vicious little bump to it, and that car doesn't look happy. And look, again, it's just really not come to grips yet.
Yeah, and talk about coming to grips right now. That was what I was getting ready to ask you. It was very warm today, but then it rained. Obviously, that rain is going to cool off the track surface. How long is it going to take these guys to get temperature in their tires, get those Hoosiers to where they have grip?
Well, the problem you can see in that picture right there is that they're running through a wet area, and there's a dry area between. So, I mean, oh boy, that's Mike Weinberg. All out of control. The 23 is leaking oil like crazy.
Chris Sakaris.
Yeah, and that's got oil leak. That's an oil smoke, and that's why he's all over the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a shame. It almost looked like there was something loose on the front end. The suspension might have been loose or something. I couldn't tell. It could have just been an optical illusion, but definitely smoke out of the car. You can see oil.
There's oil all over the racetrack. You're going to have cars spin. There, that one spun. He needs to pull that one off the racetrack. By now, he should have figured this out.
You could actually see it pouring out from underneath.
Yeah, that's good. He's got it off.
A great move by Chris Sakaris to pull that off. A very professional move, but back at the lead up front, Taylor still leading in the 10 SunTrust car over Jörg Burgmeister, but Burgmeister definitely wants to be at the front. He's beginning to put the pressure.
Watch here, Brian, because they're going right into an area. These guys don't know about that oil. They're a half a lap ahead of where that is. Their crew chief should have been looking at our monitor and seeing what's going on and calling these guys, because they're going to run into a big mess of slipperiness here in a minute.
Burgmeister down to the inside of Taylor on the 10 car. Looks like he has the Pontiac power, but then again, so does Wayne Taylor. But Burgmeister with a good jump off of the bus stop, riding on board with Wayne Taylor, and here they come into that area where the oil was, Dorsey.
Yeah, I don't know that they've been called or not. We'll see. It looks like Wayne trying to go on the outside into turn 1, but that is where they're going to encounter the oil. You can see the stream right to the inside there. I don't know that they know about it. Watch this.
Oh, there it is, right there.
There it is.
You can see
right
it on the inside. Sakaris doing a great job. You see that shiny line down to the left there from Taylor. That is the oil.
Oh, he got loose. He got loose on it right there. Boy, it's going to surprise me if somebody doesn't have a problem down there. I can't believe there's not oil flags out that the corner workers haven't caught up on that yet.
Surprising, though, on the banking to watch. Oh, see Burgmeister a little loose off the International Horseshoe. The top speed on the 10 car, he seemed to lag a little bit coming off the inner loop, the bus stop over there, but he really had the legs at the end of the straightaway.
I wonder if he just barely missed a gear for a second or something like that, you know, that he dropped back. But both those guys ran right down on the oil. Look at this right here, the 10 car. Watch the second car in the frame. Watch his shiny point. Right here, he's right in the oil. Woo! Boy, it's faster, too.
It doesn't look much from outside the car right now, but what is that, Dorsey? 100 miles an hour?
So it's over 100 miles an hour, and it's pretty blind because that guardrail is taller than what you can see.
Well, Burgmeister continues to lead over Taylor, and then Kurt Wagner running third. The 01 machine of Diaz, and then Elliott Forbes Robinson in the 4. The crew members standing by to watch. Not a lot to do right now, but there will be when we come back to Daytona right after this. Going full course yellow at Daytona International Speedway with the Rolex sports cars. We heard the boys in pit lane say that they were in the window for pit stops. If we went full course yellow, we're there, and there's a pit road, Calvin.
Wayne Taylor running second, brings the number 10 SunTrust machine in, going to turn it over to Max the Axe. These guys going for 3 straight here at Daytona. They won this race last year, they won the 24. It looks like a routine stop. We see the brakes smoking there. Wayne has certainly been hard on the pedal here this afternoon, but they've been doing a great job. Max Angelelli is licking his chops right now with a thought of getting behind the wheel. But meanwhile, the 66 is in. Chris?
Cal, that's right. Jörg Burmeister bringing the 66 to pit lane. Looks like Max Angelelli and Max Pappas are going to be going head-to-head here. Burmeister and Pappas were very successful at Le Mans just about 10 days ago, both of them finishing second in class. Very happy with the way the car's going right now. They think the setup is a little bit soft. They were anticipating some rain, but right now this car is very fast. Cal?
And the 8 car is in as Brian Frizzell turning it over to his older brother, Bert. Looked like a routine stop. They're struggling a little bit there with the belts. In fact, they've got an assist here. Sometimes the drivers will switch position with someone else on the team to help with the driver change. Refueling is being completed. Tires are changed. More action down pit lane. Chris?
Cal, still some problems at the 66. It looks like they didn't get the fuel hooked up right away. So this fuel stuff took a lot longer than anticipated. They lost a lot of time. And the 01 is also out. Looks like it's going to beat the 66. Scott Pruitt behind the wheel in the 01 now. Luis Diaz just couldn't find his groove in that car, so now they've got Pruitt in there, and also Stefan Johansson in the 02.
Costly mistake down on pit road as you look at Mike Johnson, the team manager for Krone TRG Racing. They're looking at the fuel rig, and the question, Dorsey, I guess I'd have to ask is, did they get all the fuel in as you look at David Donahue strapping in the 58 machine?
That's what they were looking at, Brian. Their fuel rig has a sight glass on it, making sure that it took all of the fuel that it was supposed to take. Oh, here's trouble here. That's Tony Stewart, and that is a huge leak, and I don't know what kind of leak it is yet. Is that overheating? It looks hot.
It looks like water. It doesn't look like oil. It certainly looks like water. The radiator is in the front of this car, though, Dorsey, but that water's coming out in the back. Could it be the fittings or the hoses back in the engine compartment?
Yeah, you see Max Crawford there himself looking at it, shouting the orders out. They're looking down that tunnel that runs up through. Well, certainly there is lines, Brian, that go between there.
My question is, early in the race, we saw him get together, but it was on the left side when he made that contact with David Murray.
Right, and
this is on the right-hand side, so...
I see no damage to the right-hand side.
Calvin?
Well, there's a lot of water coming out the side part on this car. Andy Wallace is now behind the wheel, having taken the driving chores from Tony Stewart, but they just want to try and replenish the system. Max Crawford over on the left-hand side. They have a quick fitting here. They can connect this up, try and get some water back in this Pontiac motor, try and stay on this lead lap. This is critical. They can't afford to go a lap down here.
Saw some damage to the decals along the lower right side of the car, Dorsey, but it seems like that would be strange to create enough damage to cause a leak, because those were just scratches in the decals.
Yeah,
as Andy Wallace tries to make sure they do not lose a lap.
That's what he's trying to do. There might have been a hose got punctured with whatever. Oh, look at all the water coming out. He's cutting stop down there.
They're going to hold him.
He's down a lap, and he's down more than that, because that's going to sit there and overheat, I guarantee you. I saw water just flooding out of it.
As Andy Wallace pulled up to the flagman at the end of pit lane, you see.
Yeah, look at it. Look at underneath the rocker panel there, just filling up.
Temperature is going to go up on that car, and after a while it's going to go back down because the sensor's not going to be able to read coolant temperature anymore.
Oh,
look at it pouring out.
Don't spin, Andy. It's dumping right on his right rear tire. When he makes his left-hand corner, it's going to be real slippery.
Dorsey, even if they get it back to pit lane and tighten up a hose, how hard is it to get the system filled up with water and not have any air bubbles?
Well, the bad news, Brian, is I think that hose, instead of being a hose like a rubber hose, is an aluminum piece that goes from the front to the back, which hooks to rubber hoses. And if, in fact, that's the case, then it's ruined. They might not even have another one. Calvin.
Tony, you had a great run there, got the car up to third, but now we see water coming out the side of the car. Was there any contact at all?
Not of anything I thought it would do that by any means. We had a couple run-ins with a couple of Porsche 911s. It's a shame that guys can't at least watch where they're going and watch around them. I mean, if you're going to run in that class, you have the responsibility of knowing what's going on all the way around you. Had a couple guys that chopped us and we ran into, but nothing that should have done that.
Once again, this track hasn't been kind to you and Andy tonight, but looking at your performance, you seem like you got 5 laps under your belt and you're back in a groove and going to the front.
Well, I've never driven on a wet track with slicks, so another first tonight, but figured as long as I followed EFR, I mean, he's got so much experience. I knew if I followed him till the track got dry, we'd be in good shape, so that's what we did, and after it got dry, we went on.
All right, Crawford group trying to regroup here. Let's go down to Chris.
Cal, I'm down here with Jörg Bergmeister. Jörg, that was a great run, running up front. You guys, good battle with the 10 car. Tell us about the contact you had with Wayne Taylor.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised because I was already closing the door quite a bit, and he just pushed me off the line. This early in the race, I didn't expect that, yeah, but it happens. And afterwards, I had a chance to get back on him and brought the car back in the lead and pitted in the lead. And unfortunately, we had some bad luck on the pit stop. Were problems with the fueling rig, but I think we are still in a good position for the rest of the race.
Well, Max Pappas behind the wheel, and we've seen Max put on some awesome drives here at Daytona in the past.
The 66 car has dropped back to 5th position, so they did lose the lead and several other positions with it. And the question that we still have is, do they have a full load of fuel? We talked about the contact. Here's on board with Wayne Taylor. You see him slide up the inside, contact once, twice, 3 times, and that's where Taylor takes the lead. But he has just been so good on the brakes today. Max Pappas now in the 66 car under full course caution for the first time here at Daytona International Speedway. Hopefully it will be the last. We'll get back to green flag racing, the Rolex sports cars, when we come back to Daytona right after this short break. Bobby Labonte in the number 44 Pontiac Doran, running well here at Daytona International Speedway, running back in the 9th position. He and his brother Terry running in the top 10 all night long, and you gotta be impressed with the guys who can step over from Nextel Cup into one of these sports cars and have not really turned many laps. You heard Bobby Labonte say earlier in the show he's done more laps now in this short event than he did in all of the 24. Certainly didn't get a lot of practice time in. Not the only Nextel Cup star enjoying the Rolex Sports Car Series, the number 7 car, Kyle Petty behind the wheel right now of that Max Tuttle Racing entry, having a good time in his Pontiac powered Riley. Kyle Petty doing a good job, this team doing a good job. Their very first race, they're running 12th right now, and a great debut for the Max Tuttle Racing entry. Kyle Petty behind the wheel. There's the 20 car, Andy Wallace behind the wheel right now. Tony Smoke Stewart started that car, ran well, took it to the front, but they had their problems. Some contact with some slower GT cars caused a broken heat exchanger, and they spent 4 laps in the pits trying to get that repaired. It looks like the repairs have held, and they're back on track. Andy Wallace behind the wheel right now. Dorsey, the question's got to be, you damaged that heat exchanger, and then you drove it around for a lap to try to keep from losing a lap. They hurt the engine?
I doubt it. I think he probably, I saw they brought it in with the engine shut off, so he probably kept it under control there. But these 4 laps down, he'll never get those back. As we get ready to go back to green here.
Lights off on the Pontiac GTO pace car. He should be diving to pit road here. Scott Pruitt, KG veteran, out in front. He has taken his time. They told Luis Diaz, just bide your time. Make sure you hand Scott a car. It wasn't perfect, but Pruitt now behind the wheels. The green flag flies yet again at Daytona, and look at the move that Bert Frizzell has gotten at the start.
He got a big jump at the start. Now, was it too big a jump? We're going to have to check into that here in a minute. I saw him make the move way before the green on the number 4, the Alex Forbes Robinson car. On board now with Maxiax Angelelli, and this is what he does best. Cut and thrust through traffic. That was Kyle Petty. Just got really sideways right in front.
Patrick Long in the GT Porsche, the new Century Porsche, to the outside. Angelelli makes quick work of Patrick Long, now looking to the inside of Kyle Petty. We saw Wayne Taylor so strong in this car in the braking zone, Dorsey. Now Angelelli, known for his demonic braking in a car that you say has a lot of downforce on it.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to show, too. He's going to dive right down the inside of anybody he can. He got that thing loaded with downforce so he can pull those moves.
Pruitt already catching lap traffic. Bert Frizzell doing a great job hanging on to second, Calvin.
Here with his brother, Brian Frizzell, and what a performance you put on up there tonight. Really duking it out with Luis Diaz had to be fun for you.
Oh, I had a great time. You know, Luis raced me clean. I hope he feels the same. I had a great time racing with him and Kidley, and just really excited to be out here. I got to thank RX.com for making it a possibility and making both my brother and my dream come true. And I got to thank Shoes for Crews just coming on board this weekend, and Glycomax for giving us the edge.
Talk about dreams. What about a dream start for your brother there, down on the apron, duking it out with the 4 car?
Yeah, that was an awesome restart. I don't know how he did that. He's really good on the restarts. So we're sitting in P2 right now. Hopefully he can keep it up.
Hopefully they can. Bert Frizzell, of course, had a couple of podium finishes last year with Osvaldo Negri. Hopefully you can see the first one in 2005 with his brother, Brian.
Well, Butch Leitzinger trying to make the move on Frizzell, but this is what's great about the Rolex Sports Car Series. Lexus power plant, BMW, then Pontiac, and you're also looking at 3 different chassis manufacturers running right now in the top 3, and look at Leitzinger to the inside.
Look at the legs on that Pontiac, would you? I mean, that just smoked down the straightaway. Butch Leitzinger taking over right there. He's setting sights now on Pruitt, I guarantee you.
Got a Riley, a Crawford, and then a Doran, and then 3 different power plants, the Lexus, the Pontiac, and now the BMW. And actually, once again, that's what's so strong.
And we're hearing it's Elliott Forbes Robinson, who stayed in the 4 car and has not changed out yet. So Butch Leitzinger's still not getting into the seat. For EFR, that's really aggressive. We got 2 cars off, and one of them's the 22. Look, we got a mad driver here.
That's the 36 car with Randy Popes behind the wheel, and the 22 PTG BMW with Ian James behind the wheel. See if we can catch any of the action here. Just the tail end of it as you see Popes and Ian James sliding to the inside.
Got wet there. Keep it on the grass. I told you it's been raining 10 days here. There's lakes everywhere.
And all those fans standing down there are
wet.
glad they're not down the racetrack another 50 yards or they would have been soaked. Back with the leaders, Pruitt beginning to stretch out a little bit over Elliott Forbes Robinson, but
well, I don't know. I think EFR is actually coming on. I think he's really coming on. He just made up a lot of deficit right there. Elliott Forbes Robinson defies everything. I mean, this guy still gets the job done. Got more racing experience than everybody.
See, the yellows are out again. We saw the incident with Randy Popes and Ian James over at the kink on the infield. Those 2 cars mired in the mud, obviously not able to get out of the way, and that will bring out the 3rd full course caution. Pontiac pace car has its lights on, and once he can pick up the leader, he'll pull back onto the racetrack.
There's the 02. Now, no, you can't pass, boys. There's yellow out.
Full course yellow out.
They just haven't figured this out yet.
Yeah, they just figured it out, began to slow, and now we've got cars coming to pit road. Elliott Forbes Robinson will take advantage of this yellow. Calvin?
Do you want me?
Does bring the car in. He's going to turn it over to Butch Leitzinger to see his first action of the day. And we just saw what the Crawford car is all about. It's sensational here at Daytona. It's always a factor, and there's a long way to go in this one. Butch has won the Daytona 24 Hour 3 times. They'd love to win it here tonight with he and his old buddy EFR. Crew goes to work, changing all 4, use your tires, cleaning the windshield. Fueling is done. They're just trying to strap Butch in, and they'll be back underway.
66 is in as well, and they're taking and looking at tires on this car. You see all the guys doing their job. Fueller's going to be the last guy done.
Now this is what makes sense to me, Dorsey. We've run a few more laps. They were behind the pace car, ran a couple of green flag laps. We've now got 37 in the books. This might make sense, but now the 10 back in. See, he was too early last time.
Riley's lying to us again. There's more going on. There's more going on here than what he's talking about. I don't get all that.
Chris, a lot of interesting strategy going on down there. What's happening on your end of pit lane?
Yeah, Brian, that last caution we saw Stefan Johansson in the 02 come in. They're not coming back into pit lane right now, or at least not at this point in time. Mike Hall leaving them out on the racetrack. Here with Court Wagner. Court, you and Stefan have had a couple really good races. Mont Tremblant, you finished 2nd. Watkins Glen, you guys led that thing. You look so strong. A little bit of a communication problem there, but this New Century team really starting to gel. Is this going to be the race for you guys?
I mean, I certainly hope so. We have so much involvement here at Daytona this weekend. We've got Jamie McMurray in the home 1-2-3 car, which is a New Century effort. I've got Pat Long and Pat Flanagan in the Porsche and GT division in the New Century car. I got Stefan Johansson, myself, and the Daytona prototype. You know, I mean, I can't thank Chip and New Century enough for having us here. It's a great motorsports weekend for home 1-2-3 New Century, and we deserve at least the podium here. I mean, at Watkins Glen, we were running away with it. The car was great. You know, Mike and these guys did an amazing job with the car, and we just had a string of bad luck. But, you know, a little podium would be great, especially in front of this weekend for a New Century.
Well, but what about the strategy? I mean, Mike Hall brought him in a little bit early by our watches. Do you think you're going to be able to make it, especially with this caution?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will, and they were kind of counting on the fact that there'd be more yellows. Like we've seen this whole race has been a lot of yellows, people going off. It's so slick on the edges of the racetrack. When you get within 6 inches of the edges of some of these places, some of the corners, the car just snap oversteers. So you fight that all the time, and as you can see, a lot of good guys are going off, and, you know, probably not their own fault.
Court Wagner, Stefan Johansson looking for the first win.
Well, the chess pieces are being played. Everybody is working on their strategy. Some of the leaders have come to pit road, some have not. It's going to be anybody's guess what the fuel mileage is like. We don't know the end, neither do you. Make sure you stick around to the checkered flag. "44 laps in the book here at Daytona International Speedway." We'll take a look at the events so far this evening. At the drop of the green, Wayne Taylor, his first pole position in many a year, leads the field down in a great battle with Jörg Bergmeister as Bergmeister takes over the lead.
Right here, big problem for David Murray is he has a big spin right in front of the GTO, brand new race car. And then this, Wayne Taylor being quite racy, showing Bergmeister a way around the inside.
Then Tony "Smoke" Stewart has his problems yet again at Daytona. A broken heat exchanger, leaving that 20 car in the pits for a while. And then problems for Bill Auberlen as he and Patrick Long get together on a restart. And then more problems.
36 into 22 get together and have a big moment in a lake that wasn't there a week ago.
And this is our last caution, the 06 car. Harrison Bricksoff in the International Hairpin gets stuck in the tire wall. Some days you have a bad day, it's just not worth getting out of bed.
Yeah, that wasn't intended.
Pulled him out of the wall, and spins to the inside, and then
yeah, well, don't need that. It's only 15 grand.
It's
kind of a bad moment in racing right there.
19, the Finley Motorsports entry. Michael McDowell behind the wheel right now. We saw McDowell with a fantastic drive in Watkins Glen. It's only a matter of time before this 19 car makes it to victory circle. Chris?
Mamo, you boys pitted during the last caution, so about 8 laps ago. Are you guys good on fuel for the rest of the race?
We're pretty close. Our window is opening up here pretty big, and we've been on conserve mode, and it just kind of worked to our favor. We took a strategy. Rob Finley made the call here, and now the Finley car is definitely going to be in contention for the win here, I think.
These boys were so strong at Watkins Glen, just looking for that first win.
Chris, I only think it's a matter of time. Michael McDowell was spectacular in the rain at Watkins Glen. He actually spun out of the lead when the rain started coming down in very difficult track conditions. It was dry. He came through a corner. The rain had been falling in that one specific area of the racetrack. Spun out of the lead, but charged his way back. And like we keep saying, this team has really come a long way in its first year. You saw the crowd in the grandstands there, a pretty good crowd. A lot of them came to watch the Nextel Cup race this weekend, sticking around tonight to watch the Rolex Sports Car Series. The lights off on the Pontiac Pace Car. We should get another restart here, Dorsey.
Yes, indeed. Nice to see all those fans come back after a torrential downpour that we had. They all came out and see a good race. They're going to get one. We're far from over.
Michael McDowell brings the BMW-powered Riley to life at the drop of the green. He'll make the run down into turn 1. The 7 car sits in second place right now with Kyle Petty behind the wheel, and a very racy move by Petty as they head down towards the infield.
Oh, Petty loose there as he turns into the turn 2 area. Gathered it up really nice. 58 car in the middle of that being really aggressive too.
Also nice to see the 58 car on board right now. Darren Law behind the wheel, I believe. No, actually it's David Donahue behind the wheel.
David cut right through the middle there. There's that water that we just saw dumped out by the 6 cars that came back on track.
But we said that water is dumped all throughout the infield. These guys haven't been through it yet, so we've got to watch that. Remember, oil caught Terry Morcheller out earlier in the race and put them out. David Donahue doing a great job. Don't forget last year in this event, the 58 car running 3rd until the very last lap when the 2 Crawfords were able to draft by him. 58 ended up finishing 5th in that event, but David Donahue very racy as he goes up inside Kyle Petty. Chris.
Brian down here with David's teammate Darren. Darren, you guys are good to go on fuel right now. For some reason, this car likes the high-speed tracks like Daytona.
Yeah, we're a little down on downforce, so it is good for the high-speed stuff through pit stops and all that. We're up front. We just got to hang on. So hopefully it's going well. Great for Brumos, being the Brumos 250s. This is good.
This team has had a lot of heritage at this racetrack, so they're hoping to try and break through, get their first win of the year. They haven't won since, well, I think it was 2003.
Was 2003, Chris. David Donahue doing a good job right now, but that car right behind him with Butch Leitzinger, always one of the slickest cars around the high banks here at Daytona, and they seem to get great fuel mileage as well, Dorsey.
New sheriff in town, boys. Watch that 4 car. He's got the muscle right now. We know he's got top end. They almost bumped right there. That would have been catastrophic.
Shades of last year, where on the very last lap, like I said, both Leitzinger and Tony Stewart were able to draft by the 58 Brumos car. And that's exactly what we saw. Leitzinger very quick, makes quick work of David Donahue, and now has his sights set squarely on the leader, Michael McDowell.
Michael McDowell, Butch is really smart. He's going to play this infield like he's doing right now. He's just going to run behind. I don't think you see him being real aggressive. When you've got that kind of straightaway speed at Daytona, like I just saw that last lap, guess what he'll do? Pull the trigger and drive on by.
Well, in one lap, Butch Leitzinger went from 4th in the serial on the restart to 2nd place. And right now beginning to really pressure Michael McDowell. David Donahue doing a great job of holding on through the infield portion.
That's where the downforce is hurting him, not having quite as much. That high-speed kink back there, you need a lot of downforce to take that. I listened to the throttle. He cannot do it flat, and he should be able to on a car with enough downforce.
Well, and he's got fresh tires on that car as well. They're not very old, so he certainly should be able to get through it right now. But like you said, that lack of downforce just not getting him through that high-speed kink, and he's beginning to come under pressure from the 66 car. That's Max Pappas in the 66 right now, so he's beginning to put some pressure on Donahue, but the real pressure is being played up front as Leitzinger looking hard on Michael McDowell as they come through the tryover.
No contest, Pontiac power around the outside. Michael's going to take it in deep. Butch knows he's there. He's going to take the position. It wouldn't have made any difference to fight him because he would have just taken it on the other end if he didn't take it there.
I said through the trioval, I was mistaken. It's down into the bus stop. Now Leitzinger now able to get past Michael McDowell and is beginning to stretch it out already. That car very strong here. We've seen the 20 car. We talked about the trials and tribulations that Tony Stewart has had here. It really is that entire Howard Boss Motorsports team with Max Crawford and the boys. They've struggled at Daytona. Maybe they're going to get their long due rewards here tonight as Leitzinger looking very strong. Stick with us at Daytona when we come back right after this. Continues to lead the GT class in the Rolex Sports Car Series from Daytona International Speedway, and a tremendous job this team has done all season long, but as of late they seem to have really found the legs for that Porsche, winning at Watkins Glen and doing a tremendous job here tonight. Calvin?
Well, Brian, they are certainly on a roll. Corey, you're leading again. You had Wolf Hensler behind the wheel along with you and Lee Keane at Watkins Glen, scored a victory there. And right now your teammate has it out front. Can you hang on? A lot of strong Porsches right behind you.
Oh, yeah, there's some great cars behind us. Andrew Davis is right behind us, closing up. But Lee's putting down some killer laps. Just turned at 55. I mean, he's going faster and faster. So, I mean, we look really good right now.
Have this team turned the corner? I mean, you've been knocking on the door and thereabouts. But, I mean, right now, you're a factor week in, week out, it seems.
I'm not sure. I mean, we've just been nailing the pit stops. Gordon Friedman, my dad, the crew chief, has been doing a perfect job with all our pit strategy. We've just been doing really good. I mean, you have good luck.
All right, mate, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe you can make it 2 in a row.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, 1 was good, but 2 would be unbelievable. So.
It would be unbelievable in that class. GT, so competitive, not only with these Porsches, but now, as we've been saying, the Pontiac GTOR, this class that is growing hugely. Oh, in trouble with the GTO.
The right Pontiac.
Front. Boy, you know what? I don't see that there's any. It's on pit road. He's going to make it back, but I don't know if that's suspension failure or if he had contact. We'll have to take a look here.
The 65 car, Andy Lally behind the wheel right now. He has done a good job of getting it back to the pits, but as you said, Dorsey, damage up on the right front, obvious damage. Let's take a look and see if we can see what happened. Contact there, but is that mixed up with a prototype? Was that?
I think it was with a prototype, Brian, and I didn't get the number on it, but we'll take a look. I mean, that's a big damage right there.
Trying to take a look at it again when we get a chance, but for now, he's to pit road. Chris?
Brian, you guys are exactly right. He got mixed up with a prototype out there, and he got the bad end of it and got into the wall real hard. You can see a lot of damage up on this right front corner. Significant suspension damage to this brand new GTOR. So, you know, rotor damage, suspension damage. These boys are done at their first outing with this car. Really too bad. They were, you know, looking for a good finish here, new car, but not going to happen today. Hopefully they can get it back when they go to Barber.
That took a whale of a hit right in the brake zone, Chris. In the bus stop, he was getting in a brake zone. And, take a look on board here. Oh, it's a 0-1.
It's Pruitt.
Pruitt gets into the 65 and puts him in the wall hard.
I'd like to see that again because
Brock,
that's in kind of a strange place. I mean, obviously Andy Lally over to the right side of the road, letting the prototypes go by, and that's something that you just don't see Pruitt do make a mistake in contact like that, but it certainly looked like Andy Lally was holding his line as they come to the bus stop. Let's look.
Take a look from the outside. It's
From
up
the
on top
long
of the
shot.
screen. Wow, God,
Lally a little bit off the wall, but he's holding his line. Pruitt makes the contact.
Yeah, and the car just turned right head on into the wall.
Here's the onboard.
Look here.
I'm watching the headlights along the wall there, watching the distance. They're staying along the wall. I haven't seen him move, so he's staying equidistant from the wall. Here comes Pruitt.
Pruitt turned up the road and got him.
He got him. He just turned into him.
He thought he was clear. What happened was Pruitt was going so much faster. He thought he was clear, and he moved up to get the line.
Just stuck him in the fence, Chris.
Brian, down here with Andy Lally. Andy, what'd you see from your perspective?
DP was coming by in the bottom, and it got on the brakes, and it closed the door to get back on the line before it completed the pass. That's simple. I feel real bad for these guys.
The 01 car right now.
You know, these guys put so much heart into this car, and we put so much effort into our championship, and this is going to be a big blow for us. You know, it's just tough. You know, the Pontiac guys, the TRG guys, all these guys have just done so much work, and to end it up like this is just a shame. You know, Mark did a great job today. All of our sponsors, you know, were here up in the stands and rooting us on for our debut with this GTO, and you know, I can't say enough about the car. And you know, for one thing, this is the first crash test with it, and that was a pretty big whomp into the wall just now, and I feel fine, so the car did its job, I guess. It's just a shame. This was such a beautiful piece.
Well, a lot of emotion from Andy Lally down here, but he's had a lot of success. He's a young driver, and he's going to have a lot more ahead of him.
Certainly has a lot of success yet to come. Disappointment all around for the guys at TRG and GM with the damage done. The 01 car on pit road serving a penalty for avoidable contact. And that's, you know, once again, it's a mistake that you just don't see Scott Pruitt make very often.
It's an easy mistake to make with the closing speed in that zone. You go by with the faster car and you think you're clear, and he was only off by this much.
Well, there's a look at it again as we go to break. Stick with us at Daytona. We'll be back for more action. Leitzinger coming around some slower Daytona prototype traffic. The number 5 car in front of him right there with James Gouet behind the wheel. Leitzinger being very cautious, it seems like, Dorsey, just trying to take the measure of everybody that he comes by.
Absolutely, taking no risks, no chances right now. Nice outside pass. You see, he didn't get all jumpy about the thing. These guys, on the other hand, are really, really going at it.
Scott Pruitt in the 01 back in 7th position now. Had run further up before he had the contact, but racing hard with Alex Gurney right now. You just saw a piece come off of Pruitt's car.
Oh, look at this. Remember, Pruitt just served a penalty. He served a penalty for hitting a car that could have been avoided contact.
And now he certainly hasn't backed away from charging hard, trying to get back some of those positions that he lost and having to serve that penalty.
You see him flashing his lights at everybody. You know, it's not because he's mad. He just wants everyone aware that he's on the charge, trying to get back those positions.
See the damage to the right rear of Pruitt's machine. Lights flashing. Max Angelelli coming up on the leader in the GT class right now. Joey Hand behind the wheel in the number 16 car. Chris?
Brian, down here with Justin Marks. Justin, I talked to Joey earlier in the weekend, and he was really excited to be paired up with you again. You guys are running first right now in GT. You've got to share that same type of excitement.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. This is the way both of us started our careers of sports car endurance racing with PTG. Before the race today, this car made 7 laps, I think. I mean, we had to replace the transmission the first practice. We missed the whole thing, and then we blew the motor right before qualifying, and I couldn't qualify the car, so we started this race last. So, I mean, with the debut of the Pontiacs and everything that this team's been through, I mean, it's a one-day race, but I mean, the emotions, the highs and lows all day today. To be able to be leading with, you know, 2 laps to go is awesome. If we can win this thing, it's the 50th win for BMW and PTG, which is just awesome. What an awesome team. What an awesome car company. I'm just stoked to be in victory lane tonight with Joey.
You know,
a lot of those wins have come from Bill Auberland and Boris Said, but now these 2 young guns are trying to put their notches on that belt too.
Yeah, Chris, amazingly, those 50 wins, if they should get it, come with just a little bit over 100 starts, so a 50% win average is pretty amazing.
Pretty impressive. And that the GT battles around this racetrack are so great. Bill Auberland in the 21 car right now and the other PTG machine You got BMW, Porsche, and then Porsche back and forth, and a Porsche in fifth. That Pontiac GTO was so strong. You heard Justin Marks talk about with the debut of the Pontiac, almost sounded like he regretted the fact that it was here. More competition for these guys on the racetrack, but you cannot take anything away from Tom Milner and his entire organization at PTG. They put out some very, very strong BMWs.
Boy, look at this battle going on up in front of the BMW here.
Arbelin driving a bit of a wounded car, you've got to believe right now. He had that altercation with Patrick Long on the restart, spun, made some contact with the wall, and the car doesn't seem to be quite as quick as he would like it right now, and we've got a spin on the racetrack.
That's one of the Labonte brothers that has just spun the 44, and it's not in the best place. It's on the bus stop chicane. He's actually in a good place right now, but to continue on, he's going to have to put the car in jeopardy.
He's going to have to go counter race, and the leader just went by him, and we talked about it. 2 laps to go, about a lap and a half right now. But it's not over, Dorsey. You got to make it around that next lap and a half, and anything can happen.
And here's riding with Max, who's he's trying like crazy. Look up in front there. That's first place. You're riding with second, and you've got 2 laps to go.
White
About
flag.
to be 1. And boy, I tell you what, they better get on the horn to Butch Leitzinger right now, because that's too close for comfort.
6.9 seconds at the line. The last lap by. We'll see the interval on timing and scoring this time. 5.4 seconds back to Max Angelelli, and right now Butch Leitzinger can put it on cruise control. He can't turn off his concentration, but he can certainly ease up on the car a little bit. Look at the GT traffic.
And that's 4 cars between him and second place. That's Max is going to have to go by those 4 GT cars before he has any shot at running down, and I don't think it's going to happen.
See the GT leaders, Joey Hand, then Bill Auberlin, and then D'Allen. What a great day for Ryan and John DL if they can finish on the podium in what would be John's first sports car race, teamed with his brother. That's got to be great. Look at the rear brakes glowing there on Leitzinger's car as he goes through the international hairpin, the international loop, they call it here. Horseshoe, I should say. God, I got confused on what that little bendy thing. The international horseshoe, then through the West Horseshoe and back onto the banking at Daytona for the final time, about 2 miles around for Butch Leitzinger, just up on the banking, some GT traffic to deal with. And there's the gap back. You just saw Max Angelelli in the 10 car come on the banking, so the gap may be closing a little bit, but 5.4 seconds the last time by, Dorsey. A long way to go for Max Angelelli.
Can't happen unless Butch makes a mistake. I mean, or the car breaks or something like that. Butch won't make a mistake, I can tell you that. He doesn't have to worry about 4 or 5 seconds being taken away in just 1/2 of a lap.
Last time into the bus stop for Max Angelelli, Butch Leitzinger has already exited, going into NASCAR 3 here at Daytona. Up through the gears, he'll be at top speed. By the time he gets to turn 4 and gets around about halfway to the pits, probably blow the engine and coast through. He still has well over 5 seconds in hand.
And that's what it looks like. It's not that much, really.
Checkered flag, Butch Leitzinger coming to the line. The curse for the guys at Crawford, Howard Boss Motorsports, and Max Crawford is over. Crawford, Pontiac-powered Crawford, takes the win here at Daytona. All the heartache that those guys have gone through has now been washed away by the victory here. They will drink the champagne tonight and enjoy it. And there's your GT leader, Joey Hand and Justin Marks. Joey Hand behind the wheel right now will take the victory for Tom Milner and all of the guys at PTG and BMW. Celebration by Joey Hand. That's going to help him in his championship hunt. We've chronicled the problems that Mark Bunting and Andy Lally had. Joey Hand, well back in the serial, will move up. 4-car takes the victory, and I'm sure there is a lot of celebration down on pit road. Calvin?
Well, it is just nuts down here in the Crawford camp, as you'd expect an EFR. The curse is off now. You boys finally get that win at Daytona.
Well, it's great to be a win here, but you know, we've been so close so many times this year. It's just great to finally pull one off and not second place. And Butch did a super job, and Dave, thanks, man.
Talk about the championship, though. You've had 3 second-place runs. You've had a couple of bad races. Can you get back in the hunt?
Well, this should help us a lot because the 01 and 02 had a bad day. Angelelli and Wayne never have a bad day, so we got to just keep it up.
Well, congratulations. Great run tonight.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Calvin.
Well, those Crawford Pontiacs have been so strong here at Daytona, and finally, the monkey is off their back. The last time Butch Leitzinger and Elliott Forbes Robinson won at Daytona was the Rolex in 1999, but the champagne will taste just as sweet tonight. Celebrations down in Victory Lane. Calvin, you better watch the champagne, buddy. It's going to be flowing.
I know, there's big celebrations down here. Big relief for this team. They've come so close. Butch Leitzinger, you've been in victory lane before the 24 hours, but for a couple of years here, the Crawford team have come so close. Finally, tonight, you break the jinx.
Well, it's been a while since we've won here, and I mean, the Crawford team and Max and Jan and everyone has absolutely poured their hearts into it. And I mean, you know, they've got 4 cars here this weekend, and no one's had an ounce of sleep for the last month, I'm sure. And but God, the car was perfect. Elliott did such a stellar stint. The strategy was everything works sometimes. Sometimes everything goes wrong. Tonight, everything was perfect.
The champagne is flowing in victory lane and flowing for the boys in GT as well. Chris?
Brian, down here with our winner in GT, Joey. Joey, looked like the 14 Porsche had you guys covered, but they stumbled, and you get your 3rd win of the year. You got to be pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah, it's a great day for PTG. It's 50 wins for BMW and PTG. Team did a great job. We lost the motor in practice. No install lap. Justin and I had 3 laps apiece. He drove it through great. Just a great job of the team and Tom Milner.
You watch some of the action that we saw here at Daytona today, and another disappointing day at Daytona International Speedway for Tony Stewart. Got to do something to get the monkey off his back. Next Rolex Sports Car Series race, Sunday, July 31st, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Plenty of action yet to come. For Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, Chris Neville, I'm Brian Till. We'll see you then.